My name is Jacquez Gray. I am a first-year grad in the LSA program. I come from Western Illinois University. My major was law enforcement, and my minor was African American Studies and Homeland Security. While in undergrad, I was very involved. I probably say I was over involved. I was an RA for 3 years. Did that in an upperclassmen residence hall, a co-ed, 60 to 75 residents every year. So that was pretty cool. And I was on the orientation team 1 year. I did that one time. I worked with first year students. I also was president of the gospel choir, which is something I'm really excited about. It's probably, that's how I got started in all of this student affairs stuff. Student affairs is not a word, but anyway. That's how I got started. The gospel choir is something that really sparked my interest, and that was the first thing I joined while in undergrad. I also did a lot of other things that helped me progress, or helped me move along to the position I am in now. But those are on my resume. So, next question.
So, Jacquez, tell me why you chose to pursue a degree in student affairs leadership.
It was just one of those things, I'm pretty sure everybody's story is the same. You don't realize that this is a thing until it's a thing. So, one day, it had to be my sophomore year, the end of my sophomore year, going into my junior year, I was like, I really, really, really like working with students. Because I worked in advising all 4 years in undergrad, and so I always had that student interaction, making appointments and dealing with students on a regular basis. But I had this interest, like, oh man, this is something that's really cool, and how can I do this? And so my supervisors as an RA were going through the program at Western. It's called College Student Personnel. And so they were going through the program, so they were using me like as a test dummy. So it was like, so how are you feeling, and how does that make you feel? And little things like that used to, at the time, like make me mad. Like, why you treat me like this? But now that I'm in their shoes, now I understand everything that they were doing, and it actually makes sense. And so my first supervisor, I went through that all 3 years with every supervisor actually. And so I was like, oh yeah, this seems pretty cool. Let me try to learn about it.
How would you define student affairs, and what attributes would you associate with the profession?
I think student affairs is something that is unique in its own way. It's something that you can't explain. And so that's the tricky part about this question, because you really can't explain it. It's like trying to tell your mom what you actually want to get a master's in and what you actually plan on doing is just inexplainable. I try to tell her and she still doesn't get it to this day. Oh yeah, he's living with the students, or oh yeah, he stay in the hall. No, stay in the dorm. That's what she says, and I say, Mom, it's a residence hall. Anyway, but that's an argument for another day. But student affairs is something that you really can't explain, but it's the type of profession that reminds you of the things that you did in undergrad and the mistakes you made, and trying to get someone not to go down that same path. That's really what my goal is to let minority students in particular know that this college life is not hard and we can obtain it. We just gotta reach for it because it's there and it's available to us. And so student affairs is something that I really, really take to heart. Being that I am an African American student, and coming to college is not a thing. I mean, it is a thing, but it's just not. It's a little, the road is different for African American students and minority students.
Yeah, so what attributes would you associate to the profession?
Yeah, so what attributes I would associate for the, okay, I don't know what this means.
Like, for me, it's like compassion, integrity, being a nurturer, but also like a sense of pride, or like discipline, stuff like that.
So I would say some attributes that I would associate with this position or with student affairs is being an influencer, actually modeling what you should do in the profession. So because I am an African American minority student, I want to model something that other minorities can see and say, oh, he did it and he's actually going through this. Maybe I can too. That is probably the biggest attribute I can think of that really makes the most sense.
Yeah, sweet. And also, where are you an insider and an outsider within the field?
Sometimes I think I'm an outsider in the field, and I keep referring everything back to minority students because it's really interesting to me, but I think that's where I'm an outsider. I don't see too many professionals that look like me in this field. However, in the field, we preach so much about social justice and things like that, but it doesn't reflect the people we're pulling in to actually work in the field. So that's why I think I'm an outsider, but I'm overcoming that, obviously. But I'm an insider in many ways, as far as fitting in and being a part of a staff and being part of a culture that's so welcoming and so opening and so open-minded that is pretty exciting about that.
Yeah, sweet. I know we touched on it earlier, telling me about your background, but specifically, how has your background, like your personal and professional, prepared you for this work of grad school and then student affairs employment?
So my background, I was a law enforcement major, which was pretty cool, being that everything that's happening in the United States and around the world, we got to see both sides. I got to understand the law enforcement side of it, but I got to also understand, not necessarily understand, but I also knew the minority side of it and how everything is going on. So I saw both views, and that was pretty cool. Also, me being an African American Studies minor, I learned so much about my culture and the things that we endured as African Americans in America is just life changing. Some things, because you never was taught these things in grammar school, in high school. It just never was taught, and you get to college and then you say, wow, like this is everything that I never knew about, some terms I never knew. And so me specifically being an African American study minor is really, I know for a fact that it has prepared me and it will prepare me for the grad work when I'm talking about minority students and what I really want to write about and what I really want to focus on. I know for a fact that it will prepare me in knowing the background of some things, because it's so easy to talk about the current, but if you don't know the history of it, it's no way it's going to work. You won't understand it, and history repeats itself over and over again. So that's something that I'm really excited about. As far as professional work, like I said, being an RA and on the orientation team, I have this spark for working with first year students. The orientation team was something that was really, 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 really cool. And after being on the orientation team, I was on this team called the Next Success, and we actually worked with freshmen only. I met with them once a week for 4 hours, gave them study tips and things about campus. It was to help build the retention on the campus, and so that really helped. Their retention rate went up, I think, 4 points after that year. That was the first year we did it, so now they're doing it every year. And so that was something that sparked interest in me as well. I was also a part of the integrity committee, the integrity committee of appeals. So if students may have failed a class or got an F or got a grade that they thought they didn't deserve, they would meet with a committee, which I sat on a committee as the only student representative, and we would discuss some things about the class. We actually met with the student and the professor to see how things worked out. And so that was pretty cool to see that side of student affairs as well. Working in advising, I know for a fact I'm prepared for this job. I know it.
Awesome. So Jacquez, can you tell me a little bit about where you'd like to be in the next 5 to 15 years? Like what functional area and what type of institution?
So in the next 5 years, in 5 years, I know for a fact I will be a hall director somewhere in somebody's complex. It's a nice school. Um, I don't necessarily know what institution I want to work at. The private sector of institutions is interesting to me because I come from a public school, so it's something I'm learning about. I can say I would like to end up at a public school. And you said 15 years?
Yeah, the next 5 to 15 years.
Yeah. So going to housing, working as a complex director or some type of director over residence halls. Then I want to move over to, I don't know. See, this is what I don't know, because there's so much you can do with student affairs. It's really weird. But anyway, I want to be the director of residence life eventually. But I also want to work in orientation. And because I love orientation, I love working with the orientation team. I love seeing the excitement of first year students coming to a university that's really exciting. And I'm a woo, that's my number one. So when they're excited, I get excited and I start doing random things. But anyway, so I want to work in orientation too in these 5 to 15 years. I also would love to work in advising as well. That's something I have I'm passionate about. But eventually, I want to be the president of a university, and I know that's like way, way, way out there, but I can see it, and so I'm gonna write the vision and I'm gonna make it plain.
And also, just tell me what you'd like to learn in this class.
That's the crazy part, because in undergrad, you actually do everything. I did everything, per se, being an RA for 3 years and just being so involved that I did everything not knowing what I was doing and why I was doing it. And so when my my supervisor would use what they learned in class on me, it was like, why are you doing this? But like I said, it made sense. So now, I guess my biggest thing, I really want to learn why people respond the way they respond to things, and actually learning about different backgrounds and being open-minded and being able to take everything into consideration and not necessarily being one way only, just looking at the whole picture as one. That's something I'm really passionate about, and I really want to get other people to see it that way, that it's not just about one specific way, it's the whole picture.
Awesome. Is there anything you'd like to add?
You're a great interviewer. Everyone, it's Yvette. Anyway, but no, I'm really excited about class. I'm excited about this school year. I'm excited to learn. It's just going to be a fun year. I know it's going to be stressful. However, I know I can do it. I mean, if I came this far, I can keep going all the way. So it's a great day to be a Tommy, everyone.